going to attend the program.
Yeah.
And today we have taken the topic skill development through Industry 4.0. Right, sir?
Yeah.
Yeah, first of all, before entering into our topic, I want to thank the organizing team and those who believe me that I used to come in time, but due to preoccupation, because I told the organizer as well as Malyadri sir also before joining this, accepting of my offer, if any assignment come through the university, that will be the first priority. So I completed the. Is it audible, sir?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and in that way, I completed my university assignment by sitting in my seat, and now we are joining for the purpose of deliberating about Industry 4.0 for the faculty members' benefit. Some people, Malyadri sir and Srinivas Rao, may be knowing that already we have communicated about cloud computing and cloud commerce, cloud business, etc., which is required for our Industry 4.0 topics. Now I wish to talk for the benefit of our faculty members, those who want to. Sir, both audible and video is also there, no, sir?
Excellent, madam.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah. So, uh, in that way, I wish to share some of the views about Industry 4.0 because I must thank our Honorable Vice Chancellor who initiated last April, March, April, due to COVID time. We talked about, we have insisted and encouraged to write a theme about Industry 4.0 related commerce titles. For that purpose, we have given one fintech applications in commerce, fintech applications in commerce, yeah, subject for the benefit of the Industry 4.0 scholar. Okay, so now we are gathered here for the purpose of deliberating something on skill development through Industry 4.0, how we can attain the Industry 4.0 trainings, through in which way we can we can develop like that. So in that way, this is the program where we have initiated for the purpose of this program. So in that way, I wish to communicate some of the issues. See, we can say in 2020, this Industry 4.0 is very popular topic today because of its big influence on manufacturing. It is focused on creating smart environment in the manufacturing process. That is true. The essence of the Industry 4.0 is in the Internet of Things and Internet of Services. That is also true, but we know based on the first slide we can able to understand what is Industry 1.0. Earlier Industry 1.0 is machines and utilization of machines only, and Industry 2.0, which is termed as mass production. The bulk production was possible that time, and Industry 3.0, which is insisting about the employing automation. Now Industry 4.0, which is nothing but through cyber physical system, which is nothing but machine talking to machine. That's all. If you are setting the input, those are machine talking to machine. So that is the basic concept of this Industry 4.0. So just we are amazing and wondering that in what way this Industry 1.0 from man to machine like that. So machines and utilization of machines and the mass production was possible, employing a little bit automation in Industry 3.0. Now the cyber physical system we are entering in with a machine talking to machine. So if you are configured with some inputs, So it will talk to another machine like that. So the system is like that. So this primarily focuses on the use of large scale M2M and Internet of Things deployment to provide the likes of increased automation, improved communication and monitoring, as well as smart machines that can analyze and diagnose issues without the need for human intervention. Why? Because this then free up their human co-workers, granting companies much smoother processes that leave the employees open for other tasks. So we can simply say that Industry 4.0 is neither a new form of technology nor a business ideal, but in fact a revamped approach inspired by new advancements to achieve results that were not possible 10 years ago. That is true. And apart from that, apart zero, a new form of technology, nor a business ideal, but in fact a revamped approach inspired by new advancements to achieve results that were not possible 10 years ago. So we can talk about the Industry 4.0 technologies. Generally speaking, Industry 4.0 describes growing trend towards automation and data exchange in technology and processes. Generally speaking, Industry 4.0 describes a growing trend towards automation and data exchange in technology and processes within the manufacturing industry, including, we can say, at 8 components. We can see the first slide, that the history of industrial revolution as we discussed earlier. Now we are in a position to Industry 4.0 technologies. Generally speaking, Industry 4.0 describes the growing trends towards automation and data exchange in technology and processes within the manufacturing in industry, including the Internet of Things, which is the technologies for transformation. Industry 4.0 IoT, Internet of Things. Why? Because here we are here the industrial Internet of Things, cyber physical systems, and smart manufacture and smart factories, cloud computing, cognitive computing, artificial intelligence. See, these are all the basic tools for the digital transformation. So, how the skill development through Industry 4.0 is possible? Now, faculty members need to prepare enough by some sort of faculty development program in order to deal with the rapid changes and shifting paradigms. So, without such training, teaching is often reduced to instructors presenting their understanding of the subject by one-way lecturing. See, for example, till the last semester, last year 2019, we were not worried about what is Industry 4.0. One gentleman entered into our campus, our Honorable Vice Chancellor. Our Honorable Vice Chancellor. Sorry. Our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. Professor P. Kaviraj sir, who ignited and initiated about Industry 4.0 and Vision 2023 and Vision 2030 also we have planned. So in that way, a roadmap was prepared by a team of members within the campus. So our campus is advising to some of the institutions, educational institutions also. So in that way, we came to know about what is Industry 4.0 and as a faculty, what can be done to the betterment of the students community. So in that way, we initiated a team of members, fintech applications in commerce, how the financial technology can be applied to commerce, how the cloud business can be applied to commerce graduates, how the cloud business and cloud commerce can be initiated to the commerce students. So in that way, we are thinking how the artificial intelligence can be linked with the commerce graduates and commerce subjects, and how big data and business analytics, so many things we are thinking and linking with these digital transformation tools for the betterment of the commerce graduates. So in that particular concept, in that particular concept, this cloud computing and cyber security, see, we are studying about banking, we are studying about insurance, we are studying about the leadership, and we are maintaining the accountancy, everything. So what is the role of cyber security here? So in these aspects, we can apply these 7 tools with the commerce subjects. That is highly possible. So in that way, this faculty development programs have proven to be successful for improving the teaching skills in higher education. It has been long believed that the most important resource that any institution of higher education has is its faculty members who teach knowledge and skill to the students. However, during the first half of the last century, it was assumed that a competent basic scientist or clinical professional would naturally be an effective teacher. Even most medical schools recruited faculty members more for their content knowledge and clinical skills rather than for their educational skill. Why? Because mere education skill is different from the technical skill as well as the practical skill. So then after that, we find faculty members sometimes being criticized for shortcomings in their teaching performances. If a good teacher may be a good researcher, sometimes both will happen, good teacher as well as the good researcher. Somebody may be the good researcher but may not be a good teacher. Why? Because they will be concentrating on giving the output to the students community. Okay, so this may happen. So this skill development through 4.0, which will emerge through our faculty members, especially in the field of commerce. Not only in the field of commerce, through the computer science, they are doing wonders by using this big data, augmented reality, cyber security. So they have introduced new papers to the students. So based on that, we are also competent enough to give the new topics to our value added courses, add-on courses, and skill development courses, skill oriented courses with credit or without credits as per the UGC requirement, as per the NAC requirement, we are also doing. So in that way, so Industry 4.0 and the Indian educational system, how it is. Industry 4.0 that encompasses artificial intelligence and robotics, big data, and the Internet of Things are set to change the nature of jobs. Apart from that, the Indian education system is transforming to provide better learning opportunities to prepare the younger generation for automation oriented dominated jobs for the future. See, apart from that, we can say the students are introduced to the nuances of artificial intelligence. Why? Because machine learning and digital experiential learning by introducing new teaching methods that simply knowledge transfer. So the application of information and communication (ICT) enabled technology in the educational sector also, which also helps to create and performs that not only personalized teaching based on various learning levels, but also improve the students' assistance on an individual basis. So what is the ultimate motto? Whatever the things we are learning in a new way, it is not for an individual. Being a teacher, definitely it will be transmitted to the students community. So that is the motto of every teacher. So if the Indian education sector can successfully channel these new age technologies, then the country will soon be able to equip its students to be future ready. Apart from that, the curriculum should include the skills and knowledge of greatest importance to the program's partners. See, I am wondering now. See, as I pointed out earlier, nobody knows what is Industry 4.0 in 2017-18, right? But now, every affiliated colleges, every autonomous institutions, every government colleges, every state and central universities, they are focusing on finding the new innovative things for the betterment of the students. Linking business analytics, they have introduced digital marketing, they have introduced hands-on training on GST, they have introduced. So all the, as per the FHRD requirement, they are continuously introducing what? This particular thing. All are skill based, employability based, which is wonderful for the betterment of the student. But only one thing is, the students community must make use of the resources available in the educational institution. That is true. So any teacher, any higher level educational institutions are ready to transform, ready to do anything new, but it is the duty of the students community to make use of the resources available in their concerned institution. So the curriculum should include the skills and knowledge of the greatest importance to the program partner. Apart from this, hands-on experience should be emphasized and employability skills, ethics should be integrated into the curriculum. So the students should achieve a mastery of these and other skills required by employers prior to graduation. For example, now we are running parallelly one program is going on in our department. One is entrepreneurship development will be done by my colleague, one of the colleagues, and another skill development program on digital marketing is going on. See, just imagine the employability. Our original plan was all the affiliated colleges will be invited to the university batch by batch, hands-on training out of 16 modules in digital marketing. We have to transform them. We have to teach them based on the hands-on by sitting them with the computer, and they will be learn about the digital marketing certification. But due to this COVID-19, what we explored to everybody throughout global. So now 2,000, 3,000 participants are attending that program based on this digital marketing skill is required for the students. If at least if we are conducting and the participants, they are 2,000 and 3,000, definitely we will be happy if 200, 300 participants learned the till the end, and they will be getting certification and they will be getting employment opportunity. Definitely we will be happy about that. And apart from that, the aim of India's higher education system is attaining sustainable development and achieving the higher growth rates, which could be enabled through the creation, transmission and the dissemination of knowledge. So based on that, higher education at all levels in the country is witnessing a consistent growth pattern marked by the setting up of new institutions and the improvement of the existing ones. So demand for qualified teachers and faculty members over the next few years would be substantial and will become extremely critical for states to expand the current institutional capacities, not only of infrastructure, but also of qualified and trained faculty members, because of the information communication technology is very fast than the learning capacity of an individual teacher. That is true. So we have to cope up with the current environment of the digital world. We have to cope up with that particular thing. So then only the meaning of the employability and survival of teacher will be there. So the unprecedented growth of institutions in India in the past 2 decades has led to a shortage of updated and well-trained faculty members and has created a quality and challenge for education. So in recent years, through ICT, educational tools have been understood and adopted by many institutions. The same is not true for educational planning and implementation. So there is a need for well-trained faculty members who will help improve programs to produce quality graduates. So it is our humble duty and bound duty to the students community to produce the good quality graduates. So increasing internationalization in teaching is strongly supported by the Indian education sector and is considered vital for Indian institutions in developing India's capacity. Why I want to quote this particular statement, internationalization of education is a mantra of today's higher educational administrators. Why? Because this COVID taught many things to all of us. As a teacher, as an educational administrator, for everybody. So anything is possible globally. So why? Because any person we can invite for our program virtually. That is highly possible in the higher education. So internationalization of education in teaching is strongly supported by the Indian education sector and is considered vital for Indian institutions in developing India's capacity in research and innovation, driving up India's institutional ranking and increasing the quality of teaching as well as learning. So we can talk about the enhancing the academic and intellectual environment in the institutions by providing faculty members with ample opportunities to pursue research and also to participate in seminars, conferences, workshops has become vital for developing nations like India. So participations in such program would enable faculty members to update their research and pedagogical skills. That is highly possible through the internationalization of education. So higher educational institutions are starting to adopt and respond to professionals already in employment, matured learners, and the demand from students enrolled for skills for employability programs. With the aim of equipping faculty members with required skills and knowledge, ICT Academy, Information, Communication and Technology Academy, pursues the faculty development program as its primary objective. So at this junction, I can appreciate the organizing team. Instead of conducting simple webinar for the counting part, they have initiated to conduct the faculty development program on the industry skill development through industry 4.0. So at this juncture, we have to discuss about some curriculum 4.0 and faculty 4.0, how we have to match with the curriculum. Then only we can call it as the faculty 4.0. Okay, so all around the world, leaders from government and industry debate the future of work and the changes brought by technology and automation. Here, that we have applied the services, you know, that artificial intelligence, augmented reality, globalization through mobile computing also possible. So third slide showing that service-based architecture pay for usage, that is infrastructure as a service. So already I talked about this cloud in cloud business webinar and cloud commerce webinar also. Infrastructure as a service, what I wanted to convey at this juncture for all the faculty members, those who joined for this program, or any educational administrator or any principal or any leader like Malyadri sir and Srinivas Rao sir, infrastructure as a service, which is nothing but I have to invest some 50 lakhs for purchasing a software. Already I have told this example in the cloud commerce webinar also. Instead of investing 50 lakhs, if any one supplier is having that particular infrastructure, we can utilize this infrastructure by paying some small amount as a rental amount. Sir, we are using your software, we are using your space, this much of GB, this much of MB. So in that way we can use. So economic utilization of our institutional resources. Instead of investing 50 lakhs server or 50 lakhs computer, 50 lakhs the installation of that particular thing, infrastructure facilities, we can hire the infrastructure from the resources. And second one is software as a service. The same way we can use a part of the software, we can hire the software. And third one is platform as a service. I am conducting this program here. I don't have much facility in my department because parallelly 3 programs are going on. So what can I do? So I can seek the help from the computer department because they are having the higher end computer also. So I can seek the help from their server. I can connect it to my server. So I can manage the internet connectivity and the problem of this technology also. So in that way, the cloud is also playing an important role here. And apart from that, cyber security. So words are not there. Millions of cyber warriors are needed now. Why? Because if for small things, for example, one debit card or credit card, we are worrying about the security way. But just imagine the data where we stored. So cyber security skill set is most needed but not available. Information security is also there because somebody may hack the information. System security is also there. By using our password, they may hack our documents and hack our mail, etc., etc. And encryption and decryption algorithms, coding, decoding is also possible. So in that way, we can connect cyber security in banking. digital banking. Like that, we can link our subject with the possible the tools of this industry 4.0 in the education. So what the curriculum 4.0 is telling at this juncture, the next slide which will show the big data as well as the mobile also. So before entering into that big data and mobile data, all around the world, leaders from government and industry debate the future of work and changes brought by technology and automation. So the world is not reacting fast enough to update our system of education, both in content and delivery. Here, according to the current analysis of 750 occupations by the McKinsey Global Institute, 51% of job activities are highly susceptible to automation. That is true. According to the survey, McKinsey Global Institute, more than 50%, 51 of percent of job activities are highly susceptible to automation, and that's an alarming situation for job seekers as well as the educators alike. These job activities span across industries and can make several skills redundant in the coming future also. So the situation could eventually lead to mass unemployment if not addressed on time. So this is the requirement of curriculum 4.0. Here a question looming large upon all of us is, what are we doing to prepare the future generations to thrive in this changing landscape? In most schools as well as the colleges, we are still teaching subjects in a traditional way with the same old course content. Very sorry to say that, for example, if any institution is having auditing as a subject, for example, in our commerce curriculum, okay, as far as my knowledge goes, my knowledge is concerned, this auditing subject we are teaching from our +1, +2 level also. What are the qualities of a good auditor? Okay, but some of the institution, without changing the curriculum, till time they are handling the auditing as a subject in their UG and PG level also. For example, only I'm telling. So we have to change the curriculum according to the current scenario also. So this theory paper is very comfortable. So I am taking this theory paper. Just imagine, right now, year by year, we have to add in accountancy paper, IFRS we have added, Ind AS we have added. So according to the changes in the taxation paper, we are adding GST, and what is the current GST concepts are new. We have to add year by year. That's why we are conducting board of studies meeting every year. What is the new technology in communication? What type of communication skill they require based on the industrial requirement? So many ways how to write the circular, how to write the so many things based on the subjects. We are changing the curriculum as per the requirements of the current business requirement, not only business, current industry requirement. So here some debates about the evolving future of education in changing times have already begun. There is not much action on the ground happening as a result of it. See, now I want to recollect one information. Now I want to recollect one information. When we joined together for a particular meeting of +2 curriculum development at Chennai, some of the teachers, I don't want to say which teacher and which institution and all, they denied to change the syllabi. They denied to add some of the new aspects in the accounting paper. For example, madam, who will teach? It is a bulk syllabus, students will struggle. Never, the students will not struggle. If we are ready to teach, they will enjoy the new items. That is true. So according to the requirement, we have to change the curriculum. Okay, that is the professional dharma we are doing for the students community. So here in most schools as well as the colleges, we are still teaching subjects in a traditional way with same old course content. That should be changed. This is my opinion. Any discussion on the future of work should go hand in hand with a discussion on the future curriculum and also about those who eventually delivery, that is the teacher as well as the faculty. So the students are introduced the artificial intelligence as well as the other 7 tools, skills such as problem solving skill. See, normally speaking, we can talk about the creativity skill for the students and problem solving skill for the students. team working, uncertain management. See, uncertainty, managing the uncertainty. All of a sudden, one crisis happened, how to manage. So these are all the life skills we have to teach by giving the case study. How will you solve this problem? Okay, one teacher is not turned up. How will you utilize that particular time usefully? Okay, some cases can be addressed. Some case studies can be deliberated. Okay, without wasting their time and all. So how to manage the time without wasting it? Creative thinking, digital skill, and teamwork are in great demand, but no attention to developing them is given in our school education system. So it is only when students enter professional courses like CA and chartered accountant as well as company secretaries, etc. They are exposed to such abilities, but then it is perhaps too late because by then your attitude and belief system is by and large fixed, leaving little room for new adoptions. So apart from that, the currently the need is to revamp fundamental education and foundational education for making it future ready. So to prepare students for meeting the changing demands of Industry 4.0 and beyond Industry 4.0, our curriculum must combine futuristic subjects with traditional ones. Besides, the focus must also be on imparting a skill-based curriculum, which is important in the digital world. For example, already we are teaching accounting and tally. How the hands-on training for a tally. Already we are teaching GST. How the GST practical application of GST can be done. And already we are teaching the taxation, direct taxation, how the individual can assess the tax liability for an individual, assessment of individuals, like that. So practical, parallelly, practical hands-on training can be given. It can be of a value-added program or skill-oriented program or additional add-on courses, whatever it is. Or simply we can invite an auditor and we can insist the auditor practically open the system. We can teach the students how the hands-on can be done for an individual assessment. So everything is highly possible with this. So the focus must also be importing a skill-based curriculum, which is important in the digital world. So to take the full advantage of the opportunity created by the advanced technology, we need a similar revolution in education. So we need to ensure that our student and teacher alike get the best possible teaching learning experience. So this calls for developing education 4.0 experience for students and teachers that addresses the needs of the fast developing world around us. So here I want to conclude. Before concluding, I want to share some of the points also for shaping the expectations of students to meet the challenges of the future. Academic institutions would need to design collaborations. Universities, colleges, research centers, government institutions, and corporates collectively get involved in the process. So for that purpose only, we are including the industrialist, student alumni, and current student, and 2 to 3 experts and industrial experts from external members to be the board of studies member in every institution. So which is very much needed. Why? Because what is the requirement of the industry can be revealed in every subject. So what is the learning outcome should be based on the personalized adaptive learning technique, intelligent digital assets should guide technique teaching and concepts. Here the teacher student interaction should be based on a smart approach to make the whole experience engaging and interesting. In the coming years, it is predicted that the students would have greater flexibility in choosing their mode of engagement. So the employers are reporting a shortage of digital skill in their workforce. They feel that universities and colleges can play a pivotal role in retaining and retraining and upskilling of the current workforce to meet their demands. So now, not industry and institutions also recognizing that as an individual teacher, we should also recognize a large proportion of future students would be looking for flexible approaches to learning because of their work commitments. No doubt, technology will play a pivotal role in enabling all this. So the world entered Industry 1.0 using mechanical advantage powered by steam, which signaled a productivity and transformation boom. So the second industrial revolution was driven by electricity and assembly line production process. Third industrial began in the 70s was powered by programmable systems driven by IT. And now the industry 4.0 builds on all the previous revolutions will lead the proliferation of exponential technologies. Here, futurizing the Indian education for building a workforce for Enterprise 4.0 will need a more robust the professional framework. Career planning in a rapidly changing world will be based on interdisciplines that are more advanced. Apart from that, the academic institutions, in order to upgrade themselves to the next level, our institutions can develop an advanced plan to bridge the demand supply gap of skilled labor in the digital economy. Here, the functioning to achieve the operational efficiency using the technology, educating emerging workforces with the modern tools as well as the techniques is the only solution to Industry 4.0. Colleges and universities need to think about how we can establish an ecosystem on continuous and futuristic learning that paves the path towards the big Indian dream. So here we are developing the course content now. It should be user friendly and can be accessed across multiple delivery modes. Such content will enable the switching between here the online, blended, or in campus, on campus modes of learning, thereby giving greater flexibility to the learner. There is also scope for academic institutes to launch shorter certifications for professional. So it is better parallelly as far as my department is concerned. We are planning for giving certification program, which should be a recognized certification, right? We are inviting people, or we are doing add-on courses or value-added courses based on their time. We have to give parallelly one value-added program for their employability skill. So in that way, the preparing learners for job of the future cannot happen in the faculties not ready to co-invest in the upgradation process. Hence, the need for faculty 4.0 is critical than ever before. So we have to run along with the students community. So now the India is reskilling challenge can only be met if our education system is constantly aligned and receptive to the changes around it. See, if we are again and again grading the word flour, which won't be marketable, because we are talking about, we are telling about the internationalization of education. So in that way, sir, 1 second, please. 1 second. Oh, sir. Good afternoon. Yes. சொல்லுங்க sir. Please, sir. ஆமாங்க சார், அதனால தான் நான் இந்த ஜெர்மன் இதெல்லாம் தள்ளி வச்சுட்டோம் சார். அதனால தான் நான் இவ்வளவு தூரம் ஃபோக்கஸ்டா இருக்கிறேன். ஐ டோன்ட் வாண்ட் டு டிஸ்டர்ப் யூ. ஸோ விச் இஸ் கன்ஃபர்ம்டு ப்ளீஸ். இல்ல சார், நீங்க பேசிடுங்க சார், யூ கன்ஃபார்ம் பண்ணுங்க. நம்ம அன்னைக்கு சொன்னோம் இல்லைங்களா, வைஸ் சான்சலர் தெரியும்ட்டு. அங்க கூட நான் சொன்னேன் நானு, இல்ல மேடம் நீங்க வெயிட் பண்ணுங்க, ப்ராசஸ் போயிட்டு இருக்கும் அப்படின்ற மாதிரி தான் சொன்னாரு. பட் நான் சொல்லிட்டேன், நான் இந்த மாதிரி உங்ககிட்ட பேசினேங்கிறது இவர்கிட்ட சொன்னேன், என்னோட ஃப்ரெண்டு கிட்ட. இல்ல சார், இல்ல சார். ஏன்னா அவருடைய ஒரே ஆம்பிஷன் வந்து ஜெர்மன் மட்டும் தான் நாங்க ஃபோக்கஸ் பண்ணணும். ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ் எல்லாம் வந்து பிஹெச்டி சொன்னாங்க, பட் வி டோன்ட் வாண்ட் டு கோ சார். அதனால தான் நான் யூஜியே நாங்க சேர்க்கல சார். ப்ளீஸ் சார், ப்ளீஸ் சார், ப்ளீஸ் சார். ஓகே, தேங்க்யூ. ஹலோ Sir, is it audible now? Sir, is
Yes,
it
madam.
audible?
Yes, it
Yes,
is
sir.
audible.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Sorry for the interruption. And here we want to say that futurizing Indian education for building a workforce. See, as far as our team work is concerned, I don't think so. For I think all of us are commerce or other teachers that I don't know on this team, but whoever it may be, if we are slightly introducing, see, last year itself we have introduced normally what our practice is. Every year we are introducing what is the new concept in the last unit. Okay, so they will get familiarized with the particular concept. Then the next semester or next year, we will be having that particular paper as a new paper, full paper for it. Or otherwise, parallelly, we will be introducing some of the courses in the distance education program. Okay, so these are all the things we are normally doing. But as far as this industry 4.0 and curriculum 4.0 is concerned, every topic is highly possible. We studied some 7 tools. No application of these tools is highly possible in commerce subjects also. So that is a wonderful thing for the blessed commerce graduates. We can do with the big data, we can do with cyber security, we can do with artificial intelligence in accountancy. So in that way we can link. Okay, so if you wish, you just go through and we have to solve the requirement of UGC and MHRD as well as NAC as well as the state level education higher level body. So in that way, we have to fulfill the criteria. So in that particular way, we are also framing the syllabi, curricula also. So faculty for the future needs to have a fine blend of academics and practice. So they should have relevant industry exposure to make their teaching more effective and contextual. Education 4.0 and beyond should be a proactive response. So here, the globalized world now needs a more active education system, one that is robust enough to meet every challenge. And this cannot happen with thoughtful action and proactive involvement of all the stakeholders. It is not an individual contribution. It is a joint contribution by the teacher. First of all, educational administrator should ready to motivate us. And apart from that, if they are in a position to motivate us, we have to cope up with the administration to change our curricula. And we have to contribute new things to the betterment of the students. One. Okay. And apart from that, we are we are thinking about always for the employability skill. See, the students simply going out of the campus with simply MCom or BCom, apart from simple BCom and MCom, what they are learning extra from our institution. So that is the achievement. So in that way, these are all the possibilities to change our curricula as well as syllabi for the betterment of our students. And next, our slide shows about the big data, volume, velocity, variety, and variability. That veracity, visualization, and value. These are all the terms. We have experts in our computer science department, big data analytics is the paper they have introduced. Some of the commerce departments are also introducing business analytics. That is possible everywhere. So these are all the storage where we are keeping the data. It is a big data. For example, we can go to Google. If we are typing Google big data, there will be a whatever the information we are sharing, it will be stored as a in a big data. These are all the compilation of data which will be stored in a way. Okay, so I saw by Google, after studying this big data, I saw the Google big data depository like that. Okay, so it is available in the Google also. And with regard to this big data, the experts will talk about more on big data, but all of a sudden we can't connect this big data with our commerce, because they should know the R programming and then analytics, some data visualization, Tableau. So many things they have to learn, and then only they can enter into the particular syllabi. But other things are possible: artificial intelligence, AR, and business analytics, fintech. and financial modeling. So these are all the areas. So slowly we can introduce 1 or 2 units to our subjects, and we can revamp the curricula in the next year. So before that, we have to give hands-on training. So we have to make our students to familiarize with the new concept. So for that purpose, we can invite some experts from outside in terms of some guest faculty or guest lecture programming like that. And slowly we can interact and we can frame the syllabus with the help of the industrialists. What is the basic requirement of the industry also? So that is highly possible. And with regard to this mobile, we know mobile apps and Android programming and emulators and responsive web applications are there. So through mobile computing, this globalization is possible. Global transformation is possible also. So what are all the skills needed, both not only for the faculty member, but also for the students community? First one is critical thinking, as I told earlier. Second one is people management, and third one is emotional intelligence. Critical thinking means we have to think critically to solve a particular problem in different way of approach, different possibilities, different alternatives we have to see. And critical thinking, and second one is people management, how to manage the people. Okay, and emotional intelligence, right? Emotional intelligence in the sense that particular moment, what we are helping based on this particular circumstances, right? We are in a position to rush and help a people. We have to apply our mind. Out of the emotion we are doing in this particular problem, how can we solve like that? So critical judgment also, why can't be like this? So alternatively, we will be thinking and giving the judgment. And negotiation, that conciliation, we can say in that way. And cognitive flexibility also, we have adjustability, it should be there in the minds of the academicians. And knowledge production as well as management. So we are the producers for the betterment of the users, that is the student. So in that way only, so any management is applicable to the teachers community. So knowledge production as well as managing it. And the next one is, what are all the job opportunities in 2030? So we are talking about Vision 2023. This is our Vice Chancellor's Vision 2023. So 2030, just imagine. So automation and artificial intelligence will drive the world. Definitely cars that drive themselves, no need of drivers. So machines that read X-rays, no need of one X-ray assistant. They will analyze what is in the X-ray chart, and algorithms that respond to customer service inquiries. So the self-generated, these are all the things. Interesting evidences from the McKinsey Global Institute's latest report, Jobs Lost, Jobs Gained, and Workforce Transition in a Time of Automation 2017. So this is the slide which are available in the McKinsey report. And the next slide, which is showing about, you just go through and keenly, if you are watching this slide, automation, which is nothing but performance gains versus labor substitution. Here, you just see, if you are watching the slide, automation and improves corporate performance in ways beyond simple labor substitution. The blue shade is showing that performance gains. And labor substitution is, this is 85%, that is only 15%. That is oil and gas is using the 85% automation is possible immediately. Okay, only the labor substitution is only 15%, very less. And with regard to retail, 32, and healthcare, 30, and aircraft maintenance, 34, the remaining 66 is the labor substitution. They have to take care. And so in future, what will happen, you know, automotive industry, they are in redesigning or new developments also. And pharmaceutical also 96%, and marketing also 90. So in that way, that everything is done by the performance gains. This is the chart showing that. The next slide is also showing that you just watch out the United States table, and Germany, Japan, China, Mexico, and India. Here, the dark blue shade is showing India's performance, where the job of the future, employment growth, and the decline by occupation. India, the doctors. Dark shade is India. Nurses, care providers is 1 to 9, health technicians relating to medication. So this is the status of India. One. And the educators, we are teaching school teachers, and apart from school teachers, we are also the persons, post secondary teachers, other educational professions, education support workers in India. The job of the future is like that: employment growth and decline by occupation. And
I'm
with
sorry,
regard to
we
the
can't
third,
see the screen.
no, that I told the administrator to share the screen. I have already sent the mail, ma.
Ma'am, we can't see the screen.
What is that madam name? Nirmala, what is her name? Shai. Sir, Malyadri, sir?
Yes, it is clear, ma'am.
It is visible.
Visible, madam. So I think there may be any network problem at that place.
Madam, in fact,
Ah.
document is not shared, madam.
Madam, it is not at all visible. From the beginning, it is not there. Even I have given a
No,
message
I
to
have shared with that lady. When madam spoken with me, Radhika Reddy. I told her. Radhika Reddy, madam,
Yes.
you share the screen, whatever the PPT I have sent it to you, no?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
You
ma'am.
please share it now itself. Sir, Malyadri, sir, at what time we have to conclude?
Sure.
Radhika Reddy, ma'am,
Yes, yes, ma'am. I'm
you
sharing.
please share the screen to everybody.
Okay, ma'am.
Your PPT here to all the
Yeah,
participants.
yeah.
With the PPT, you please.
He can pin in the screen, sir. So
Yes,
it will be visible to
I'm
everybody.
sharing.
నీ
I'm
వాయిస్
sharing.
వినిపించట్లేదా వాళ్ళకి
I'm sharing, ma'am.
Now it is visible.
You closed it? Open it.
So make a glance of PPT so that the participants may.
Is it visible, sir? Now is it visible?
No, not yet.
నీ వాయిస్ వినిపించట్లేదు కావచ్చు వాళ్ళకి
It is likely to be started. Please sharing. Sharing is likely to be started. Has started screen sharing.
నీ వాయిస్ వాళ్ళకి వినిపిస్తలేదా
మీ వాయిస్ వినిపిస్తుంది కదా? Hello,
Yeah.
ma'am. Is it visible to you now?
No,
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
Ma'am.
No, to the participants,
It is not
you
visible.
make it.
it is not visible. Just started screen sharing, but it is not.
But you started screen sharing, but I think screen is muted.
Yeah,
now
it's
it's coming.
Yes.
Coming. Sir, shall we proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Shall we proceed?
Yes, you can proceed, madam.
Yeah, she may show the first slide. From the first slide, I want to sum up. Madam.
hello, Radhika madam.
Radhika madam, you show the first slide. So the title given to me is Skill Development through Industry 4.0.
Yes, ma'am.
Our university is virtually appearing. So we are in our Bharatiya University. Is it audible, sir?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the history of industrial, second slide showing the history of industrial revolution.
Is it visible to you, ma'am?
Yeah,
Yes,
it is visible. Yeah, that's why I am saying and telling. The history of industrial revolution, second slide. Third one is talking about the technologies for transformation, industry 4.0. Yeah, intelligent information society, that digital transformation, which includes artificial intelligence, augmented reality, big data, Internet of Things, cloud and cyber security, and finally through globalization, mobile computing, right? The fourth slide talk about the cloud, which we discussed, service-based architecture, pay for usage. See, if I am like rental, if I am occupying only 50 square feet, I am paying for that 50 square feet only. Okay, instead of purchasing 50 lakhs worth of software, I am using a part of it and paying the rent for the software, that economic purchase of software. This is possible. That is called infrastructure as a service, software as a service. Platform as a which platform, if I am using, I can pay for that also. I don't want to invest more on that particular platform or software or install the infrastructure. Okay, so that is there. And cyber security, this millions of cyber warriors are needed. Cyber security, we are talking about in our commerce terminology, banking, cyber security, and insurance. So many things are there, documentation, every purpose. And well, talking about the big data also, which is a big term, with the computer experts can deliberate more on this big data, because basic things to be learned. Big data means we can say simple words, the story of the data in a wider way, like that. But basic concept, all of a sudden we can't initiate with our commerce subjects, but other mobile computing, mobile apps, Android programming and all, we can do that. And what are all the skills needed? We have talked about this particular thing also. What are all the skills needed for the students as well as the teacher community? So through the teachers, the students can learn the critical thinking and how to manage the people. That is called people management and emotional intelligence. What I have spoken earlier, that we have to manage the situation, and critical judgment also. Critical judgments in the sense, one people may think that and give the, which is also problem solving ability, we can say in that way, negotiation, right? Compromising way, and cognitive flexibility. We are flexible enough. They have to, we have to teach them in what way, not just stringent and very strict fellow like that. And knowledge production and management. We are the producers of knowledge for the betterment of the students, how they have to manage and utilize the knowledge what we are sharing. So what will be the position of jobs into 2030? You know, the next slide maybe showing about the jobs in 2030, which is nothing but the automation and artificial intelligence will drive the world. For example, cars that drives themselves without any driver, without any manpower, the car that drives themselves, and machines that automatically read the x-rays, as well as the algorithms that respond to the customer service inquiries. So these are all the reports taken by the McKinsey Global Institute's latest report, which is given what are all the jobs lost and jobs gained and workforce transition in a time of automation in the year 2017. McKinsey, what they did. Okay, so that is the statistical report. This slide also showing the automation, performance gains and labor substitution. Here, this is also the McKinsey Global Institute analysis. Oil and gas, they require the performance gains based on the automation. They gained a lot, 85% benefit to the oil and gas, and next to that another 86% is automotive industry, and which is larger redesign or a new development happened in that particular sector. And the pharmaceutical industry, 96%, only they depend 4% of manpower only. The rest of the things by combination automation, they did the job, and the marketing also done through 90% through the automation, only 10% through the labor. Here where the people are coming to our door to market their product, nobody is coming, no. So these are all the study report by McKinsey. And job of the future, the next slide what you show is sharing the job of the future. The first column, first blue column shows the United States, second one is Germany, third one is Japan, China, Mexico and India. So car providers are there, educators are there, and managers and executives are there. And the last line showing the India's performance with regard to the professionals, technology professionals, builders, and the creatives. Here, this based on this source, US Bureau of Labor Statistics, McKinsey Global Institute analysis, which is showing that midpoint of earliest and latest automation adoption in the step-up scenario, that high job growth, some occupational data projected in 2016, baseline from latest available 2014 data. So they have taken the data from 2016 reports also. So based on this study, what is the customer interaction, occupation groups, jobs of the future, employment growth, and decline by occupation, customer interaction and office support and all. So in what way they are going to have their automation. So based on the requirement, see, out of these table, if you keenly watching this, majority related to commerce and management area only. For example, office support and customer interaction is a topic, right? And care providers, nurses, health support, and child care workers, educators, builders, technology creatives. Almost our commerce, what we are, all are relating to management only. So it is highly possible, anything is possible to include in the commerce curricula. So with this, if you are joining together, and everything is possible for the revamping of commerce curricula. Not only that, all the social sciences can be revamped. With this, I want to conclude. And I thank the organizing team for giving the wonderful opportunity, especially Professor Malyadri sir and Professor Srinivas Rao sir also, and believing me. And after our university program, I tried to join this, but we joined. That's all. Thank you once again for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you, sir. Thank you, madam.
Thank you. Propose vote of thanks.
Yes, sir.
I heartily thank you, ma'am, for sparing your precious time, and we are really enlightened with your knowledge and presence. And there are so many takeaways from this lecture, ma'am. Like you have explained regarding the transformation of Industry 4.0 by taking various examples, and you have explained about history of industrial revolutions, and whatever that you have synchronized the information to the current situation, ma'am. Thank you. And we have learned so many things from your lecture, ma'am. And what are the jobs in 2030 we are going to get? That is also well explained by you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, very much. Thank you once again, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Yes, Professor. Thank you very much.
In spite of your busy schedule,
Sir, one unexpected viva. We started by 10:15, 10:30, sir.
yeah.
Yeah,
Sir,
but
excuse me, sir.
it is an examination, no? So I can't come in between.
Yes.
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Sir, we could not find the feedback link in the chat box, madam. Sir.
Don't worry about feedback.
Still time.
Okay, madam, if you can permit,
Yeah.
the organizers will give a brief profile about you.
I am Sumati only. Yes.
Please
Hello?
read the profile.
Yes.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah.
Sabita madam.
Ma'am.
Madam
Yes,
profile.
ma'am. Okay, madam. Just a minute. The empowered woman is beyond measure, and a beautiful woman is beyond description. It's my privilege to introduce Professor M. Sumati, Head, Department of Commerce, Bharatiya University, Coimbatore. Madam has completed her MCom and PhD from Bharathidasan University, Tiruchirappalli. In her professional career, she played various roles, like starting with lecturer in commerce, the head of the department of BBA, principal, HOD of commerce and corporate secretaryship, like that. Madam has a multi-talented personality because Apart from her regular academic responsibilities, she also handled other additional responsibilities like Additional and Chief Superintendent of University Examinations, Karur District Railway Consultative Committee Member, IQAC Department Coordinator, University Representative for CPP COP exam, Presiding Officer for Lok Sabha elections, UGC SAP DRS1 Co-Coordinator, Assistant Superintendent for UGC NET exam, Observer for UGC SET and AIPMT exam, member of various committees like Standing Committee on Academic Affairs exam, Squad University Examinations, Anti-Ragging Committee, Academic Calendar Committee, Ethics and Grievance Committee for MPhil and PhD, Guest Faculty Appointment Committee, Dean's Committee, Doctoral Committee, Professional Courses, Selection Committee, Academic Council, Scrutiny Committee for CAS, Screening cum Evaluation Committee, and Chairman for BOS. When it comes to awards and achievements for an outstanding services, Madam has received Shiksha Ratan Puraskar in 2011 from India International Friendship Society, the Best Teacher Award for the year 2012, Best Faculty Honorary Award in the year 2013, Senior Woman Educator and Scholar Award in 2014, Best Social Scientist Award in the year 2016, and many more certifications and certifications of appreciations. Madam has visited many foreign countries like Malaysia, Sri Lanka, Sharjah, Dubai, UAE, Bangkok, Thailand, Singapore, Hanoi, and Vietnam. There is an enormous list of research publications. To gist it, there are 109 international journal publications and 54 international paper presentations. And when it comes to national, it is 125. This is a brief profile of Sumati Madam. And I once again welcome you and thank you for being here for this FDP, Madam.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sabita Madam.
Madam.
Panel chappan.
Okay. Now there will be a panel discussion on balancing in academic and research, and the panelists are Dr. P. Malyadri, ICSSR Senior Fellow, Center for Economic and Social Studies, Hyderabad, and Dr. Kankipad Srinivas Rao, Associate Professor of Commerce, Vivek Vardhini College of PG Studies, Hyderabad. Once again, we welcome you, sir, for this FDP. And now I request the panelists to take over the session. Sir, Malyadri, sir, unmute, sir.
Hello.
Before that, Professor Sumati wants to speak. Madam.
Yeah, Professor, shall I leave now?
Yeah, Madam, if you...
2 o'clock, there is another meeting.
Okay. Okay, Madam, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hello. Malyadri, sir.
Yeah. So now we will take a session on balancing of academic and research. In this, we will discuss at length about the academic and research, how we may be able to balance so that we may be able to disseminate the good information, fruitful, quality information may be provided to the student community. So that is the discussion now. Just for 10 minutes, I think all the participants are eagerly waiting for this panel discussion also, because time is up. Anyway, within 10 minutes, we will finish it up. Now, Dr. Kankipati, could you please react on this, and then followed by myself. Dr. Kankipati. No, no audio, no audio. No audio, please. Audio.
Yeah, is it audible now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Professor Sumati Madam, for your excellent enlightenment with regard to Industry 4.0. And you have given excellent inputs, and these inputs definitely, no doubt, undoubtedly, these will be the insights that you have given will be helpful to the participants. And as you said, we have to equip with the new situations and all that, as and when the situations emerging, that we need to take it, and we have to adapt it, and we have to move forward. It's a good insights that you have given, and really enlightenment. Now let us come to the panel panel discussions that we have. As our Professor Malyadri sir rightly stated, that because of the time constraints, let us cut short this information, this discussion. Actually, in fact, we plan to discuss 4 or 5 important areas to be discussed in the panel, but because of the time constraints, we'll cut short it, and we'll take it, we'll complete it in a short period of, say, for example, 15-20 minutes. We'll cut short it. And as far as this academic and research, balance of academic research is concerned, to my knowledge, these two are important for an academician. We, all of us, are academicians, faculty members, and we need to carry the research along with the academics, because the academician can have to deliver the goods properly to the students. The proper inputs are to be given to the students for their holistic approach, for holistic development and all that. When we talk about holistic development of the student, so it is necessary for the faculty. First of all, faculty should equip. So once the faculty is equipped, then that can be transformed to the student faculty or student community, so that it will be helpful to the students. Now the point is, why this research is important, why the academician has to carry simultaneously the research activities along with his academics. Very important area. So now the point is, when the academician should not confine only to the academics, or in the sense he should not confine only to the completion of the syllabus and all that. Even to the completion of the syllabus also, if academician wants to deliver proper inputs, that has to be delivered in a proper manner, in the sense analytical skills are to be developed among the student community. Unless you give the analytical skills to the students, then it is not possible. The holistic approach, the holistic development of the student, what we expect, is not possible. So that is why holistic development, whenever it is required, or if you want to promote the students in such a manner, it's very, very important. So that is why first of all, the faculty should have to equip about the research and academics. So the research gives the analytical skills to the faculty, and the faculty can, with the help of this that research skills, analytical skills, that can be, as I told you, mentioned just now, that can be transformed to the students, and in turn the faculty can ensure the students also to think in terms of the critical thinking, analytical thinking, and the critical analysis, and all that can be done by the student also. So that is why today we are talking about IoT, Internet of Things, AI, artificial intelligence, and you are thinking about other areas also. So all these things are possible with the student when the faculty is equipped with it. So first of all, to my knowledge, faculty should have to equip about these the modern technology that are emerging, and that already we are exercising about all those things that has to be adopted and have to be practiced so that that can be delivered properly. The content delivery is very important here. The content has to be delivered in an appropriate manner to the student. So nowadays the learning process has become very, very easy. So to learning process has to be made easy means first of all, the faculty should equip with the technological, faculty should have technologically, he should have equipped first of all. So that is why the research is very important. Research enables the faculty to analyze these things, and that analyzation of the information, if we can transform to the student, that can be helpful to the student. So research is all about the data in collection and analyzing the data and interpretations, and after that finding some conclusions, meaningful conclusions, because we are all living in a society where there are numerous problems. So many problems are there in the society. So the problems, when you talk about social problems or other different domains of problems are there. So these problems we need to address properly, means address in the sense a appropriate solution has to be given. So for that a scientific solution is required. So that scientific solution when you require means you have to be analyzation power, that the skills is very important. Interpretation, analyzation, finding the solution, finding the problem itself first of all is very, very important. So once the problem is found out, then you can, with all scientific equipment and all that, scientific temper and all that, you can analyze that problem, and finally you can give the information, interpretations, and then findings, appropriate solutions, or appropriate, the solutions can be offered for the society, and not only for the society. I'm talking about the students, because academics and research. So academics and research, both when you talk about, unless a faculty should have the research bent up, it's not possible. He cannot deliver, to my mind, to my knowledge, it's not possible to the researcher, to the academician, to deliver the goods appropriated to the student. That the research bent up, whoever is having the faculty, only, to my mind, only can give the analytical skills to the students, because these analytical skills are very important nowadays to the students. So without analytical skills, critical thinking cannot be adopted by the student. So the critical thinking is associated with when, how, why, what, which, all these things are associated with the critical thinking. So these kind of, the information, the thinking, ideology should be developed in the minds of the students. So that is why it is important. It is important. Research is important to the academics. And not only that, referring journals, analytical skills, and then multidisciplinary research. And the another important thing, funding research, funding resources funding resources from various funding agencies. These are all the things, 5 importantly, actually we would like to discuss before you. But as far as the time constraints and all that, now I will brief introductions are also will give, and then we'll go for question and answer type of situation. Another 5 to 10 minutes will take up, and then we'll wind it up. Now, yes, sir, please tell.
Dr. Rao rightly said that the academicians should be indulged with the research, so that they may be able to update the knowledge, they may get a good analytical skills, undoubtedly they can discharge their responsibilities at the classroom, in classroom. As a matter of fact, research is nothing but knowledge creation. It requires a support from group of people. You need to conduct various studies. You need to conduct empirical evidence. For empirical evidence or for conduct of evaluation study, you are supposed to contact many respondents at grassroots level. Being an academician, if you approach the grassroots level, definitely you may be able to know the problems. If you know the problems, then that same may be disseminated among the students. Even the students will also think about the society, how best we may be able to develop the society, they may think. So here, practicality is required. Always we are discussing at length about conceptual framework. It is not at all required. You need to develop research-oriented issues, research-oriented ideas, so that the academician or a researcher or a faculty member may be able to provide good inputs, innovative inputs to the students. And finally, students will also think about it. With, as rightly said Dr. Rao, by referring the journals, by referring the books, not only referring, but the academician is supposed to write papers. Yes. Without writing papers, he can't get knowledge. So therefore, nowadays UGC has some stipulations that UGC care list journals. There are UGC care list journals. You are supposed to publish articles in UGC care list journals. And there are Scopus indexed. There are Web of Science journals are there. And in addition to that, ABDC, Australian Business Dean Council. So you have to choose good journals, write articles with empirical evidence, and send it for publication. If you can have go on writing papers and publish in various journals like international journals or national journals, definitely you will be motivated to acquire lot of information from various sources like websites, even offline, books, print media, etc. So it is undoubtedly helpful for excellent information. You may be able to disseminate among the students, and students will also be practical oriented. No doubt, if you can publish the papers, definitely your API score will also be improved. And those who are already working, they may get some promotions also. It is disheartening to note that when a PhD student submitting for thesis, he need to publish 2 papers. But unfortunately, he has not at all started writing the papers. At the last minute, he may start writing the papers. It may not be useful. So since beginning, he should be know how to write the paper so that he can be able to write the papers. He can grab the information from various resources. After that, if he may be appointed as a faculty member in any college, he may be able to discharge his duties because he may be able to provide a lot of information to the students. And it is quite interesting to note that there is a dire need to maintain ethical standards also in research. If you go through the ethical standards, if you are maintaining the ethical standards, definitely you may be able to provide good thoughts to the students. In addition to that, the faculty members also, after publishing the papers, they should be recognized as a research supervisor to guide PhD students also. Once you may be able to guide the students, definitely you may update the information. You may get some knowledge. You may refer various journals. You may refer various books, online, offline, or through websites, so that you may grab the information and you can guide the scholars. In a way, you may motivate the scholars and you will also be motivated towards research. And finally, the research is undoubtedly helpful for disseminating the good information, good inputs, good quality. We can say that a quality of education. It is quite interesting to note that many colleges are supporting the faculty members, those who publish in Scopus Index exams. Some educational institutions are providing rewards to the faculty members. If you publish one paper in Scopus Index journal, you will be given 25,000 rupees per article. Such a wonderful rewards are given by educational institutions. That type of incentives are very much helpful to the faculty members also. They can also update the information through research activities, and in turn, the students will be benefited. That's all about what I can say, the balance between academic and research. So this is all about the panel discussion. I hope the time is up. Anyway, if anybody wants to raise questions, you please put in chat box. We are able to give the answers. Now, technical support will take. You please raise any issues in chat box.
Anand Kumar Yadav has raised his hand, sir.
Yeah.
Anand Kumar Yadav.
You please permit him to speak.
Okay, sir. Radhika madam.
Yes, unmute. He has to unmute himself.
Saisha Lakhina has raised their hand. Please unmute yourself.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, I want to know about how we can remove plagiarism and what are the new terms, what are the new policies settled up by UGC for the plagiarism?
No, it is not audible.
Sir, I am asking about the plagiarism, about the new policies of plagiarism that have been updated by UGC.
Yeah, it is a wonderful question. It comes under the ethical standards. See, nowadays, you cannot copy the article somewhere because there is a system of plagiarism. UGC has already stipulated that the plagiarism must not be more than 30%. But now the universities has given autonomy. The university may, some university may adopt 20% and some universities may adopt 25%. Or some universities may adopt 30%. So depending upon the university, they may follow accordingly. But however, if you take the Scopus Indexed journals, they accept only 10% of the plagiarism. So some international journals, they may accept 25% or 20%. So anyway, if you write a paper, definitely while you collect some information from various articles or journals, you please go through it and read it and write on your own so that you can avoid the plagiarism. That's all.
Sorry to interrupt, sir. I want to know how can we divide this percentage over different chapters if we are writing a thesis?
Pardon?
If we are writing a thesis, how can we divide this percentage of plagiarism in different chapters? Like for the literature review, how should we take the percentage of plagiarism acceptable? And
no, not each chapter.
All right, sir.
The whole thesis. Plagiarism
yes,
can be considered the whole thesis.
Yes,
suppose there is no plagiarism all the chapters except review of literature.
Right, sir.
So if it is 15% or 20%, if it is considered. That's all.
All right.
Not chapter wise. Entire thesis.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye. Any queries from YouTube? Coordinator? Please,
Uma madam.
The YouTube.
So one question is there, sir, how to develop conceptual framework?
Yeah, it's a wonderful question. See, for every article or any thesis, you need to write something about the conceptual framework. See, if you have taken a problem, you need to study at length by referring various journals, articles, books, or you need to develop a concept, or you can refer the existing literature, existing studies, and you throw a line about your area, about your problem, and discuss at length under the conceptual framework. Right? Any more?
Sir, there is one question from one participant, sir. He is asking that, like for review of literature also, is there any plagiarism check?
Yes, there is no particular for a particular chapter. The whole thesis can be considered for plagiarism. Of course, even review of literature can also be taken into consideration for plagiarism. That's why when you are reviewing the study, don't copy it. You go through once, read once or twice, write on your own. What are their findings? What are their objectives? What are their conclusions? That you have to write on your own, so that it cannot attract the plagiarism. Okay? So everybody is bothering about review of literature, because review of literature is almost you are studying the various studies in various journals, etc. In that case, you are not supposed to copy and paste. Go through it. What are their objectives? What are their conclusions? What are their interpretations? What are their results? What are the discussions? What are their conclusions? All must be written by your own only. Once you write on your own, definitely it cannot attract the plagiarism. Next.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
I think you checked the YouTube. Anybody given in issues under chat box? Please check the chat box.
Oh, madam. I think there are no questions in the YouTube chat box, ma'am.
Okay. Now you can close this session.
Sir, there is a formal vote of thanks, sir.
Pardon?
There is a formal vote of thanks, sir.
Okay, right. Proceed.
And now I call Madhavi madam to propose vote of thanks.
Okay, ma'am. Good afternoon to one and all. I take this opportunity to propose vote of thanks to those who have directly or indirectly contributed to this FDP on skill development in academic and research. At the outset, we are thankful to our Honorable Secretary Sir Dr. R.S. Praveen Kumar Garu and our Joint Secretary Dr. Praveen Mamidala, who can continuously encourage us for conducting such FDPs. I would like to express our profound gratitude to our OSD, Dr. A. Bhanuprasad and ZCO Professor K. Om Prakash Garu for their guidance in conducting such programs. I am extremely indebted to our eminent panelists, Dr. P. Malayadri sir and Dr. Kankipati Srinivas Rao sir for their enormous knowledge sharing thought panel discussion. I would like to thank our beloved principal sir for his enthusiastic support. I extended to special thank to Vice Principal Madam Dr. D. Vijay Lakshmi and teaching, non-teaching staff for their unflinching support and coordination. Last but not least, our heartfelt thanks to all the active participants without whom this program would not be successful. With these warm words and a kind message, we move to the end of the today's session. Thank you. Thank you one and all.
Thank you, madam. We appreciate you being here and thank you for joining us today. And we will see you in the next session, that is on 17th August 2020 at 11:30 a.m. Thank you one and all, and be safe at home, be healthy. Thank you.
Madam, feedback link is not opening.
Savita ma'am.
Okay, okay.
అదేదో ఓపెన్ అయ్యి మళ్ళీ ఎర్రర్ వస్తుంది, ఒకసారి చూడండి ఫీడ్బ్యాక్ లింక్.
ఓకే, నేను చూస్తాను. Feedback link is opening, madam.
No, madam, not opening.
Okay. Are you there in WhatsApp group, sir?
I think mail is there, madam. Mail is there. Email.
Okay.
Srini Ardra, SRINI _
Okay. Okay, sir. We will share once again, sir.
Madam.
Send it to WhatsApp group. Send it to my WhatsApp. Skill development. No? Please send the feedback to WhatsApp.
Link చూడండి. Savita ma'am, shall I close the session?
Hello, Valyadri sir. Hello.
I think they left.
Once let us check, madam.
Yes. Sir left, ma'am.
Left.
లింక్ పంపిస్తారా లేకుంటే క్లోజ్ చేద్దామా సెషన్?
లింక్ మీకు ఒకసారి మేడం వాట్సాప్ చేశాను, ఓపెన్ అవుతుంది చూడండి, ఒక్కసారి షేర్ చేయండి.
ఇదే కదా మేడం? అదే మేడం. కాపీ మీది వాట్సాప్ ఇది ఇప్పుడు పంపించండి కదా. గూగుల్లో ఇంట్లోకి వచ్చేయండి, పేస్ట్ ఇంట్లో అయిపోద్ది. ఇప్పుడు అక్కడ క్లిక్ చేసి చూడండి, ఓపెన్ అవుతుందా? ఇప్పుడు అది ఓపెన్ కాలేదు అని అంటే యూజర్స్ ఎక్కువ మంది ఉండడం వల్ల కూడా కాదు.
నాకు ఓపెన్ అవుతుంది మేడం, ఇది ఓపెన్ చేస్తే.
ఇది లింక్ ఓపెన్ అవుతలేదు అని. ఫీడ్బ్యాక్ లింక్. ఎస్ మ్యామ్, ఓపెన్ అవుతుంది ఇప్పుడు.
ఓకే మేడం.
ఓకే, క్లోజ్ చేసేస్తాను.